Hello and welcome back to 2024. First of all, woohoo! But also welcome back to the first episode of 2024 of Midlife Humor Gurus. And apparently I like to sing my sentences. And this
I am
is
Jen.
yeah. Oh, it is a sing-along. We'll do a round.
It's a musical. Yep. Just
Happy
kidding,
New
everyone.
Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
How were your holidays? Good?
They were something else. They were busy and there was illness.
Okay.
We're all fine, but it was
you're
just, I mean, it was like, the quintessential, the college kid came home and had the fungus, and I had a little bit of a cold coming back from travel and going to Vegas, which shocks no one because Vegas is a cesspool of illness when you're in a big old ass building with about a gazillion people. So no shock there. But it was good. It was really good. It was just very, very busy. And yeah, like I said, travel kind of thrown in there and all that kind of stuff. How about you? Mine was
very
busy,
good.
how was yours? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't do anything. We don't go anywhere. We don't spend any time with anybody. It was glorious.
It was living my best life over here.
We had my friends have a dog who they were going out of town. They were going to be going out of town for the first time for Christmas. I want to say at least since their son was born, which was like 14 years ago, 13 years ago. And so they went to visit family out of state. And so we had their dog for a week, which he's a dream. He is a wonderful dog. He's very high energy. He's got a lot going for him in his tail. He just kind of holds up all the energy there and just like lets it fly out like Tigger. So he and Ziggy had each other nice and pooped by the end of the week. Ziggy was ready for Dusty to go home. Dusty was ready to go home. We were ready for Dusty. And he is wonderful. I mean, we would have, but you know how it is. You have a guest and you're like, don't you have a train to catch or some shit? I mean, why are you
somewhere to be?
But it's been great having you, but could you go? And so he's great. He's such a wonderful dog, and him and Ziggy get along so well. So no ill whatsoever towards him. But he was ready to go home too. He was just like overstimulated, I think. And I got him home. He hopped up on the couch and I gave him a treat, and he was like, "You can see yourself out."
Exactly. He was like, "Bye."
See you next time.
I freaking love it.
So I have so my whole thing with gifts, because I have a question for you. So the whole thing with gifts is I am an experienced person, and like I don't do like Christmas gifts necessarily on like if I see something that I think somebody will like, I will grab it, or I'll like order it and send it or whatever and give it to someone that I think it fits or whatever, like but I do like the whole experience thing. My mom sent me, she usually sends a little bit of cash every year, which I always feel sheepish about. And I usually use it to pay bills. But this year she sent a gift card to Red Lobster.
Oh, okay.
So yes, I'm looking for a date.
Very nice.
Seafood. So
me neither.
So I'm all about the experience. So I have a question for you, and it's kind of going into what we're talking about today.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay, so my question to you, gift is in the question. Can you tell how simple I am? That's where my brain is, sister. Happy freaking New Year. Okay, so my question is, what gift, any gift at all that you received or didn't receive or whatever, what gift would you, this time of year, you at your age now, would give your inner child today?
That's a really freaking good question. I would give my inner child an entire set of strawberry shortcake.
I knew it. I knew it.
And then I would sit and I would look like a creeper, and all I would do all day, every day is smell all the little dolls.
Sniffing their little bonnets.
It would look so creepy. Yep. Yep. I would look like a weirdo sniffing that. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I actually love that question. What would you give yourself? That is such a good question. Or a record player. Record player is also on my list.
Oh, record player is good.
That's on my list.
Ironically, this is a gift that I don't know whatever happened to this toy. It's a toy that I got when I was a kid. And I think out of all the things that I got, other than my stuffed Benji that I got when I was a kid, my brothers were super excited about that one Christmas morning. More excited, I think, than I was.
That's so cute.
But anyways, my one thing that I really, really remember when I was a kid was this little plastic dog. And he was on his little, like he was down on his little haunches, right? And
Yeah.
his little chin was kind of
Yeah.
on the floor. So you set
Yes.
him down on the floor,
Yep.
and he came with a little blue rubber ball.
Okay.
You take the ball and you roll it towards the dog and you aim it for his mouth because his
Yeah.
mouth is, and
Yeah.
then if you get it in his mouth closes and then it retracts right away and drops the ball, and then the ball rolls back to you. No lie, hours and hours and hours of my life were
Oh.
spent playing with this little plastic dog who didn't
Oh.
but catch a ball in his little mouth. And I
I
don't know
love it.
to it. My strawberry shortcake collection, sadly, I know
Oh,
what happened to that. It accidentally landed in the
saddest
dump.
story.
That's a different story. You know about that story.
I
I
don't.
know about that story. We can share it later when it's a little less raw. 40
Oh,
years,
let's
50 years
rock.
later, it might be
40
a
more
little too
years
soon.
from now.
Yeah, we might give it a little more time, a few
Oh
more
my
decades.
God, it's so good.
But I have no idea what happened to my little plastic dog. I
Aw.
know one year he broke because I played with him all the time. And my parents were probably like, "We need to find her a play date. This is
Yeah.
sad." She's playing with plastic and a rubber ball.
Oh my
And he
God.
barked. It was so cute.
Oh, that's
Um,
cute.
but he broke one year, and I'm pretty sure I either saved up money to buy another one, or I think somebody else got him for me for Christmas one year. And then he just
Aw.
disappeared. Poof, one day
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah. Do you remember, well, you'll remember this. Do you remember the Cabbage Patch craze year?
Oh my God.
I think I was around 12. I might have been younger.
Oh, we were younger.
Were we? It was 80s. It was the 80s.
We were younger. That
10?
was probably more. No, I'm gonna put us more in the when it really started to hit, because it was Xavier Roberts. How I remember that. And I can't
stamped
name
on the
every
ass
member
of the
our
doll.
government's cabinet. I can remember that, but who's the
Yes.
president?
Oh my God.
But I think it was more so like, I would say 83, 82, 83,
Okay.
somewhere in there. We were
Yeah.
pretty little.
No, we were definitely youngish, and we were definitely in the like ideal market for these
Yes.
babies that they made. Oh
And
my
they
God.
came with adoption certificates, remember?
Oh, and they smelled like baby powder. I'm not kidding. Literally, it's still one of those things. If I walk by one in a store, I will pull it off the shelf.
Just smell it.
Yes,
It's good that you do that with a doll and not real babies, because
true
shit
story.
would get
Because
real
real,
if you did
I
that.
just
Mama bears would come.
I sneak sniffs with real babies because I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah,
better
yeah.
than the fake ones anyway. But I'm just
Right.
saying, I look less creepy because I sneak it. But
Oh right,
yeah,
exactly.
it was definitely it was definitely. There was a year where that was the best thing, and parents were literally lined up fighting each other in
That was the
stores.
original Elmo.
I mean, it was, when I
Yep.
say bonkers, if you live to this area, you totally, if you're listening to us, there's every likelihood you've leaned into this experience with us.
Yep.
And I forget, I know that I think my mom, I definitely got one. My mom found one. And I do think she might have had my aunt from California help. Like there might have been more accessible out there. And so I think my aunt had to get one and send it to my mom from California in order for me to have one. But I do remember that was a really favorite Christmas because it was such a cool item that it was like the whole like, oh my God. And then, and this is a funny one, really quick story. So I love the Cabbage Patch Dolls, but one that cracks me up. One year, bless whoever sold this, got me a perfume maker.
Oh God, that sounds awful.
Oh, it was. When I was like a little chemist up in there. It was like me making my soul sprays now on a very small level. But let me tell you something, all of it smelled like shit.
You should have bottled it as that.
Packaged it up. Level of Hades are we in that my kid can now create all sorts of super shitty aromatherapy perfume and spray it on herself? Oh my God. They probably wanted to die. I'm like, did they get that for me? I can't do this. Who got it? It was probably like an aunt or somebody that was like, here, we don't have to live with it. Make perfume. I swear to God. It was so gross.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Oh, exactly. Mom, this is just for you. She probably wanted to die. Oh my God, sweet Lord. Anyway, that was a funny one. Did you ever get a funny one? Did you ever get a toy that you're like, oh, sweet Jesus, my parents probably wanted to die?
So there were two. First of all, I'm going to circle back and say I never got a Cabbage Patch Kid. because no, this is good though.
Okay.
So my grandma was very crafty.
Homemade it.
She homemade it, and it was loved and adored by so many people.
Yeah.
Her name was Emily.
Okay.
And named her Emily. And the reason I remember this too is because I named her after my classmate. His parents had a daughter. I remember us being like older and being like, ew, maybe we were older now that I think of it. But anyways, this doll that my grandma made looked a lot like this classmate's baby sister, whose name was Emily. So I named her Emily, and she had a little pink and white dress, and she had her little arms that went out, and and my grandma made them out of old nylons.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Old stockings. And she ended up that whole summer taking orders and making them and selling them to people. And there was another one, my great aunt made me two. They were long blonde hair. The girl was, and it was Matthew and Melissa. I have no idea why I named them that. And yeah, so I had 3 homemade ones. I don't have them anymore, and I'm so sad about that.
Yeah.
But that's what you get when you put things in storage and red squirrels exist. So, you know.
That's also true.
Get betting for someone eventually. So the toy, so that not necessarily a toy, but I did get, oh God, no. So we had gift exchanges in my dad's family. My dad had 6 brothers and sisters, and so I had some cousins, and we would do like the family, like we would take turns at different people's houses hosting Christmas each year. And then after a certain age, then you got to be in the drawing for Christmas. So my aunt, God love her, she didn't, I mean, I didn't really know these relatives like that great either. Like sometimes I only saw them at Christmas. So one year my aunt got me a Michael Jackson doll.
Okay.
Complete with the red and black jacket from Thriller and the one glitter glove.
Okay.
So because I collected Barbies and everything, I'm like, okay, I'll just pretend he's Ken.
Sure.
Takes it down an even weirder route.
Yeah.
Way.
Oh my God, I love it.
I was never like a huge, like, I'm not taking anything away from his talent, but I was never this huge, like, raging Michael Jackson fan, like ever, especially as a kid.
Yeah.
It just, I'm like, oh, he did Thriller, and now I have this doll on my whatever.
Oh, that's fun.
And then another year, that same aunt got me a sweatshirt that even when I'm 100, I would never wear. And I loved it. I actually loved it because it was really comfy, cozy. Yeah. But I was a kid, and it had like this patchwork applique on the front. And I remember thinking, even as a kid, I'm like, did she just pull this out of her drawer? Now, please don't misunderstand that I am a very grateful person for whatever I get. Yeah. But when you're a kid and Christmas rolls around, you're kind of serious about your gifts, right? So when she got that, my mom asked me on the way home, she's like, are you okay with that sweat? Do you like your sweatshirt? And I'm like, no. I'm never going to wear it. And I don't think my mom was going to wear it either. And so she let me take it back.
Honestly,
and actually to this day, I still feel bad about it because I really am in the echelon of it is the thought that counts. So be grateful. And I was. It's not that I wasn't grateful. I just part of me felt bad too, because I didn't want to offend her, and I didn't want to seem ungrateful, but I just knew I was never going to wear it. My classmates would have kicked my ass.
Oh, no. That is a full-on tease worthy article in clothing.
It is. Now I actually probably would wear it now. Not all the time, but I remember it was green. And it was like this patchwork quilt, weird design thing on the front. And Now the funny thing is, a couple of years later, she was at our house, and I remember I still had the Michael Jackson doll, and I had it on display. Why? I really don't know. But I remember her coming out to, like, I think we had just moved into this new house. I think that's what it was. And so Mom was giving him a tour, and my Aunt Judy comes out to me, and she looks at me and she says, you know, Michael Jackson is like out, right? He's no longer like whatever. And I'm like, you gave me the doll. I probably only had it on display because I knew she was coming.
Oh my God.
Sometimes you just can't win, you know.
No,
But
no,
anyway, that was a long story for a short question. But yes, that was yes.
no. Oh, that was so fun though. It was a good trip
Yeah.
down memory lane. So
Yeah.
let's lean into the memories of the last year. How does that
All right. Sounds good.
We thought it would be fun to do a little bit of a chat about a year in review. And so that is what our podcast will be about today. And the one thing I do want to say about the year in review, it's funny, I think we hear in so many places in our culture that looking back and spending time in the past is bad. I think it has kind of a bad rap. I'm not going to lie. And I do think that if we grow roots there and we spend our time there, I think that's not healthy. I do think looking in your rearview mirror to reflect and understand where you've been, how you've grown, what's happened, your takeaways, I think is actually really smart. And one of the things that I think is really powerful is to look back and literally sit with pen and paper. I mean, I'm actually this concrete about it, where I would sit with a piece of pen and paper and whatever, a pen and a piece of paper. And what I would do is I would write down what I accomplished for the year. And I don't mean that your accomplishments have to look like you made $100,000 in 3 months, or I'm not. So, I mean, I'm all here for business and female business, and I love all of that. But I think that there's something bigger than that at stake, which is where did you grow personally? Where did you grow in your career? Where did you grow spiritually? Where did you grow for the sake of learning and novelty? Where did you grow in your relationships? I think it's so much bigger than that. And what I think happens is we're so in the momentum of life that we don't often really honor where we freaking been. I mean, I think it always amazes me if I sit down and actually look what I accomplished. I did way more than I gave myself credit. And so every time I've ever sat down and done this rearview mirror sort of experience, I'm blown away by that I did way more than I recognized when I was doing it. And so to me, that is the value of really seeing where you've shown up. You know, we kind of dismiss it and we just get going. And it's too bad we don't celebrate enough. I think that's what I'm saying is we don't celebrate enough that good stuff. So for me, this exercise today that we're going to go through with everyone is one, have your pen and paper handy today. I might suggest, honestly, you might be listening to us in the car and it's okay. And then obviously don't grab a pen and paper,
don't.
But you might circle back. You might take some time and do the same exercise. I would really, as you're listening today, encourage you to lean into taking notes on where you've been. What have you done? Start taking stock for yourself about, what have you accomplished? We'd love to hear from you. So please share with us, like, what are, your top 1, 2, or 3 achievements this last year? It could have been you stopped smoking or vaping. It could have been you decided on a better diet system for your health and nutrition and you stuck to it, or whatever. I mean, it could be not you launched a kid effectively to college. It could be getting a parent safely settled into retirement or a retirement home or whatever. So I think really you want to think in an expansive way about it, but I would really encourage you to take notes as Sue and I are kind of processing. We might kick up some ideas for you, and we definitely hope that that's the case for today. So,
and I challenge you to because we know how women are, not to quote Shadaisy, it's a song, but when you're doing this and you're coming up with the accomplishments, the biggest challenge is I did XYZ, but no, you did it. So if you're thinking, I changed my diet, but I've only lost 3 pounds, or I sent my kid off to college, but it wasn't really that easy year for them. No, here's the thing. That's where you move forward, right? Exactly. That's where we don't do what you were talking about, Jen, which is review mirror, because tomorrow is still going to happen, right? I mean, we're not guaranteed it, but tomorrow might bring up a whole new crop of challenges that we need to, but that's life.
Yep.
I love this idea when you mentioned this to me, looking back and extrapolating all of the amazingness, like the Lotus coming out of the mud, right? Don't think about the mud.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it. Don't even mention it, because the fact of the matter is, if you don't have the mud, you don't have the Lotus.
That's
So,
exactly right. So the only
know,
way you want to do any of that you're talking about, I think, is if you can celebrate it. I think,
yes.
right. So I think if we make the focus of this journey about celebration, if you can look at the mud and say, thank God for X, Y, and Z, if you're in that kind of mental space, add it to your list. If you don't feel ready to celebrate, like what Sue said, like I adopted this new idea and I only lost 3 pounds. If it feels meh to you, leave that part out.
Yep.
And only honor for this time of year the celebratory part. But I think some of us with time learn the fine art of celebrating the mud. I do. I think that's really important. We may or may not get into that today. We'll see. It's because I love the Lotus. The Lotus is why it's my brand. So, I mean, I love talking about this whole idea, but let's see if we get there. If we get there and it's useful, we'll toss it in today. And otherwise we might save it for another day. But I want us to really celebrate. I mean, I think just starting your year by celebrating, like, where have you been? What have you done? So Sue, do you want to start us?
Do I want to start us?
Yes.
In what we're talking about?
Yes.
I'm introducing it, or not introducing it, but I'm okay. So you're saying you want me to list off?
Well, so you don't have to list off. I think we're starting to talk about what can we celebrate for our year in review, and or what would you tell yourself in the beginning of 2023, which I like both. So I think if there's something that really lands for you, it's like lean into whatever lands best for you.
For me, I can combine the two, actually. So the first one is, what would I tell my New Year's Eve 2022 self, right? So December 31st, 2022. First of all, by midnight, I was in bed because I was sick as fuck. So that pissed me off. I got it.
Sucks.
3 days. I remember I came on like 2 days. I think it was the 29th. I woke up and I was just floored.
Oh.
And I'm like, gotta be kidding me. And then I'm like, no, I can do it. I need 3 days. I need 3 days to rest and relax. I need the downtime. I need the sleep. I need the fluids. I need the soup. I need the salt. I can do this. I can be up and running by New Year's Eve, right? So I slept all day. Then I slept all day the next day. And then the next day I slept all day. And and I'm like, no, I can do this. By about 4:00 in the afternoon on New Year's Eve, I was passing Jeffrey in the hall. It's all a blur. So I know other words were said, but I remember looking at him and saying, we're not going to make it out for New Year's tonight, are we? He says, I knew that 3 days ago. Okay. I guess I'm going to bed now.
Yep.
So what I would tell my sick, sniveling, stuffy, coughing, miserable self last year is, okay, here's the thing. Get your rest, push your fluids, chill out, because next year really is, you've been saying it, but next year really is going to be your year. You really are going to get to the end of the year and you're going to look back and you're going to say, holy crap, I did all that.
Yeah.
Then my other portion to that is, it really did feel like at the beginning of the year, all of January, all of February, it was like change was a brewing.
Yes.
I can't really explain it.
Yep. Same.
Just a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing too, and this is something that you and I have talked about in another podcast, like dreams versus goals.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of bared down and really looked at, okay, what do I want the next 40 years to look like, or the next 50 years or whatever, because what I have been doing is not working. And that's just, I mean, it was just the kind of slow wave realization over the course of maybe a year and a half, 2 years, that I was like, no, this is not, what am I doing? You know? So just, it was organic. There was just a lot of little changes that I made, making commitments to things and actually keeping them. I've been working on being better with my timeline and things like that. And then in September, I knew all year that I needed to find like another full-time work, because I'd been part-time and working for myself for a couple of years. Thank you, Jeffrey, for supporting me. And I knew that this was going to have to be the year that I did that I needed to get back on doing like full time. I needed to do insurance. I needed to make better money. I needed to have structure. I needed the structure, because not having structure, I realized over the course of 2 years, is not good for me. I don't utilize it in a grown-up way. Let's just say that, you know. So I knew that I needed to get back into that structure. And I was scrolling through Facebook. A friend of mine had posted a job that she had posted before. It was in the same department that she worked in at the college here in town. And so I messaged her about it. And she kept telling me, please apply. Have you applied? Please apply. Have you applied? Have you applied? And then I saw her in person, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks later. And I had really been dragging my feet because there were going to be things that I was going to have to give up. I was going to have to give up dog sitting during the week because I wasn't going to be available during the day. I was going to have to give up not being with Ziggy all day long, my dog. I was going to have to give up, you know, and some of these things, it's like, yeah, but you know, you do have to, it's kind of like, you know, give more than you take sort of thing. And the opportunity was just way too good for me to pass up. So I have never been good at job interviews. I don't know who took over my body for that interview.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. I do not know how I got through it. I really don't, but I nailed it. And I was prepared. That was the other thing too. I did, you know, do a little research. I researched, which you're supposed to do anyways, you know, and I've done that before, but for some reason, this just clicked. And prior to actually filling out the application, I don't think I filled it out until like a day before the deadline. And their deadlines, y'all, are like 30 days.
Yeah.
They post the job and you have 30 days.
Yep.
Well, I took that long to think about it and reflect on it. And even my friend said too, she's like, just go for it. And if you get offered, you can bail anytime. You get offered the job. You don't have to take it, but just do it. And I remember waking up one morning. Here's where my woo-woo comes in. I woke up on the Sunday morning before the application was due. I was just waking up, and this is where all my dreams are lucid. This is when the time of day that my spirit guides are like, okay, we got her. She's a little paralyzed physically right now. She can't move. And she's just coming out of a sleep state. So we got to talk to her. And that's exactly what happened. I woke up and I literally heard, you are ready. And it was kind of my own voice, but not really, because I've never said that before.
Right.
And so I threw the application out there. I mean, it just boom, boom, boom. I got the interview. I did the interview. I nailed the interview. Within a week, I think it all just went so fast. And then I found out that they were checking my references. They needed one more. They needed the reference from where I worked at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to give you that. I don't want to know. I don't want to tip my hand because I don't want them to think that I'm like trying to jump ship. Like, this is just a one-off. You know, if I don't get this, I'm still going to stay with you if you'll have me. So don't think that I want to like flee. And as it turns out, I was kind of pushed a little bit in that arena too, to just be like, they're asking you because you're it. Like that was what, like the voice in my head was like, this is not a fact-finding mission for them, for everybody. This is just for you.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, so I did it and it was very well received. I'm actually still working at the brewery part-time, which is amazing. She's like, if you still want to stay part of the family, we can put you on for a couple of days a month. And I'm like, okay. So the only thing I gave up was having to dog sit, which I'm not going to lie. I still cry about it. I got a Christmas card from one of the gals whose dogs I took care of for 5 years.
Yeah.
And they had pictures on there and I was crying when I got the card. I'm like, I'm so glad they're doing well, but I'm so sad.
Yeah.
But really, this has completely changed my life. I mean, it's an environment. It's a college environment. It's an educational environment. I am working completely directly with students. And it has been a challenge learning things, but now, and I had this week off because that's what they do. They shut down everything for a week. So everybody can have a week off for their families, with their families. And when I go back, I'm just so excited to I'm going to screw up so majorly in the first couple of weeks because it's just so much. And I don't know everything, but I'm so excited to get back in. The people that I work with are incredible. Like, it's like finding a family I never knew I had, like long lost family. And now I actually feel like I fit in somewhere more so even than I do with my own family. So if I was able to tell my 2022 sick, stuffy, coughing, miserable self, anything, it would be just keep your eye on the prize, which is goal versus dreams.
Yep.
I really bared down and I did the whole goal. Like, what do I want? XYZ. And I
Mm-hmm.
made it a lot more concrete than I
Right.
want to be financially independent and I want to be a
Right.
voiceover person and I want this and I want that. The
Right.
forces were so against me and what I originally left the workforce to do that I knew that this particular job that I just took a couple months ago or a month and a half ago is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
just it's like I have been working towards this my whole life.
Yeah. And I think one of the things as you're talking about this, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. So like, again, feel free to, refute this. But what
You
I
don't put
also,
words in my mouth, Jen, you put food in my mouth.
I also like to put food in your mouth when I can.
Yes.
Yes. But I would say, I think a piece of that is that I hear is trusting the process.
Mm-hmm.
Which I
Oh.
think is so effing hard to lean into. Had you been able to say to yourself, something magical is coming? And I
Yeah.
really want you to think about, not just you, but if you're listening, I want you to really think about this. Sue's story is so perfect for this. If she had been able to say to herself, something fucking magical
Mm-hmm.
is coming, how would you have approached the year differently? If you trusted, and this, I'm throwing this at her. So and you can answer yourself too, listeners who are listening with us. Think about what it would do for you if someone handed you this silver platter and it said, this is your year. There is magic coming. How would you approach things differently, do you think?
See, and it's funny that you actually say that because I was thinking about this before we
Yeah.
went today and started talking. One of the biggest, and that is a separate, not separate, it is a supplemental component to this because that is exactly those words. Trust, not so much trust the process, I guess, but using my own words is all of the tarot cards are right. All of your horoscopes are right. All of your, and I know that that's definitely not a way for you to quote unquote live your life. And I don't. However, all of these signs and all of these things, even my friends telling me over the last couple of years, there is something bigger coming for you. There just is. Just trust it. And I do believe that that is exactly what I would want to say to my miserable, stuffy, sniveling, coughing self on New Year's Eve, 2022.
Your NyQuil self.
My NyQuil self, that this is probably like, you're still going to have crap because that's what life is. And you want to experience all the things. But this is the year that all of that tense, holding on, clenching,
Yeah.
clutching,
Yeah.
struggling.
Yes.
This is it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it really did have to come down to kind of turning over. And I really didn't quote unquote trust the process until I actually heard that voice. And that was just a couple months ago. That was just in September.
Right.
That said, you are ready. And it was
Yep.
like, I needed that inner voice.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, just let go.
Yeah.
And honestly, ever since then, I mean, excuse me, it has been insane how I haven't struggled with paying bills. I haven't struggled with finances. I am back on the grid with my student loan because I work for a college. I should probably, pay that back. Things like that. I was always looking back and
Mm-hmm.
struggling,
Mm-hmm.
and clutching,
Yep.
and controlling and trying
Yeah.
to take things in a direction that I was not meant to go.
Right.
When whatever component in my brain or in my soul or wherever finally just released,
Mm-hmm.
that's when everything just click, click, click. I mean, at rapid pace. It's almost as if time kind of had stopped. And then when I released, it caught up with itself.
Yep.
Oh, this is what it feels like.
Right.
This is what it feels like to be able to go and buy groceries. This is what it feels like to pay my bills and not worry about when my next paycheck is coming.
Right.
And that has been, if you know me at all, that has been a lifelong struggle for me. And for whatever reason, and that's just part of it. I mean, that's just a tiny, tiny part of it, because
Sure.
everybody is going to have it. Groceries are expensive, materials are expensive. I mean, that's just, everybody's in that boat.
Mm-hmm.
But it's when I stopped
Mm-hmm.
worrying about it, which is crazy.
I know.
It's crazy.
Isn't that funny energetically how that shows up though?
Yes. And
Yeah.
it's not, we all have responsibilities, and you can't just turn your back on your responsibilities. That definitely is not, you
Right.
can't do that. Sometimes you have no choice. You have to put it to bed for a while. And believe me, I get that. But you still have to face the responsibility. But it's the whole package. It's all of it. It's meeting these people and having this autonomy in a place of business where, oh, I can be weird. Honestly, I can be weird.
Yeah.
I've never been allowed to be weird before. I've always had to button up and put on nylons, wear heels. And, I mean, not really. I mean, I've done radio for over 20 years. That's kind of weird in and of itself. But there's still a huge component of professionalism to it, because
Absolutely.
have to answer to a board, and
Right. Right.
I mean, you still have to answer to professionals,
Right.
or buttoned up and wearing heels, and a professional have a different, so you still have to kind of be somebody you're not. I've had to be somebody I'm not for years.
Right.
And now it's obviously I still have to maintain a modicum of professionalism, but it's so much more relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so much more accepting of all types. I mean, it's not just diversity with different lifestyles or different cultural backgrounds, and that's obviously a huge component of a college life.
Sure.
But it's also just, oh, you're just a little weird, aren't you? Come on in, there's a place for you here.
We like that. Right.
Love you.
Yeah,
It doesn't, and as long as you, and it's I remember the other day, for some reason, I was on our Facebook page and I was just going through the rules. I've read them before, but I was just, it's always good to kind of, refresh. But there was one thing that we had included in there, which was give more than you take.
Yep.
And I think, honestly, that is where the whole letting go thing comes from too. I think that letting go coincides with that, in that if you walk into a room and you see a spread of food out, you've been invited in to take whatever you want. You walk in, you don't engage, you don't bring a bottle of wine, you don't bring a casserole or a dish to pass. You just walk in, you take what you want from the table, and you walk out, and you don't even say anything to anybody. You are hoarding. You're just taking all the energy and you're hoarding it, and you're bringing it into yourself, and you're not sharing it with anybody else. And that is such a subconscious act that some people do. And that is another component that I've run into with this year, is that it's great that you have people who love you, but you need to kind of turn around and do a few more things for them too. And so part of that has been being able to release all that crap, worrying about money, and worrying about finding a job, and worrying about being away from the house all day, and worrying about being with Ziggy. I was making it all about me. And then when I did go ahead and trust that process, and I took on this new job, now I'm surrounded by all this energy that just pitches in and helps wherever it can with all of my coworkers. And that is a contagion that I can be on board with. I would much rather be around that and be too giving than be around what I've been around over the years and just keep all of the goods for myself.
I think your magic and your gifts and your talents, and this leans into purpose. And we're gonna be talking about purpose, which I'm really excited about, because that's one of my favorite conversations. But I think what I get excited about is, if I think about your story and signing on to school, is the amount of lives that you will touch with your gifts and talents is so great in the environment you're in. It's and fun. To me, what I would encourage all of us to think about is, what is my frequency? What am I putting out in the world? And how am I able to influence and create legacy with all the people that are around me? And to me, when you talk about finding this group of people that feels like coming home, and you talk about a job where you're engaging with students, these avid, excited learners, and you get to throw your energy into the hat to support that journey for them. To me, the ripple effects in your gifts are getting utilized to their highest form. And to me, when we step into that place and we feel like everything locked in, that's how you know you're in your lane. It's how you know you've found alignment. It's like your car was maybe a little right, the steering wheel might be shifting back and forth, and you're like, oh shit, am I losing a tire? What's happening? And all of a sudden everything comes right back in.
Jen?
Yeah. Oh my God, there's some good stories about my cars. Holy shit. But anyway, Sue knows. But for real, I think this is the beauty of that idea of what are we giving back?
Yeah.
And so what is the amplification? How can we amplify giving our gifts and our services to other people? And to me, that joy that you feel, that engagement, that excitement, that connection, that's because you're so funny and you're so kind and you're so like plugged in with people and personable. Like you've got all these so students need you. They need that. Your colleagues needed you. They needed that. That's, to me, it's like when we find a place and it feels just like coming home, we know we've found our current, and I want to use that language, our current alignment. And why do I say that? Am I trying to be Debbie Downer that someday you might have your shaky wheel again? No, what I'm saying to you though is your soul is here to do this really powerful, potent work. And to me, what I get excited about is when I see clients, my friends, my family step into something and they go, this is it. This is it. That to me is so celebratory, because it's like, that's how we know in this moment, I'm leaning in and I'm fully plugged in. My guides, my angels, my however you think about this, God, Christ, what they're supporting me, and I'm right where I was meant to be. In this very moment. That, and to me, there is something so freaking satisfying about feeling in alignment. And it's why I made part of my work about it, that if you've never experienced this in this way, if you haven't looked at it this way, you might not have this visceral experience that I do. But I'm like, I get hella excited. I'm like, I get like where I Jones about it, because it's like watching somebody really fully using who they are in an environment that so needs it. That's magic. I think that's why we're here. I think exactly what you're talking about is why we are actually here. Exactly. If I have a client come back and say, hey, I'm so grateful. We had someone come back about our holiday series. And even though it was a replay, we replayed it because we needed a break. We needed a break, and we were kind of configuring. And it feels so good to be back in here, by the way, recording, because I have missed this so much. True story. So I missed it so much. But I really want to say, a client reached out and said, even though it was a replay, and she was like, thank you so much for posting that this year. You saved my ass at Christmas.
I love that. And
so to me, it's amazing that we'll do something. We don't get paid for this podcast. I'm not trying to be obnoxious. We don't get paid. Time, it's a labor of love. It's something that we just believe in. So to have someone come back and say, wow, thanks so much, that's helping change my life for the better. That's why we do the things that we do. And so to me, those moments are where I go, oh, cool. Yeah. We did something in alignment. Somebody needed it, right? Somebody needed this. And so, and I'm grateful when someone says it, because so often in our lives, we'll go and we'll do things, we create things, we show up to work, or we do a job or whatever. Somebody doesn't always show up and patch on the back and go like, oh my God, you're so amazing. Thanks so much for being here. So when someone does things to go out of their way and say, oh my God, you're the best thing that's happened to this team in a year. Oh my God, you helped me navigate this big thing that I was so scared about and I didn't know if I could do it, and you helped me see the light. Like all of that, to me, serving each other in that kind of way is literally what I'm here for. Like I absolutely love it. And I just know you have such a powerful role to play where you are. It's funny when you, and this is so side note, when you started talking about this job, I'm like, she's going to get it. We're going to have to change the podcast. I totally knew it. I'm like, this is going down. And I'm so excited. I'm sort of sad, but I'm so excited because I knew that it was such a good thing for you, but it was instantaneous. The minute you mentioned it, I'm like, she's going to get this job. I totally knew it. And I didn't want to say it to you and freak you out, but I'm like, this job is for her. And that's why I wouldn't have bad feelings anyway, because I fucking love you and I want you to be successful and happy. But I'm just saying there was this like, like I love this podcast. Like I wouldn't want to lose you as a co-host, like this whole anxiety. And I was like, Jennifer, that's fearful thinking. If you're coming from a place of love for like one of your very best friends on this planet, like, how do you feel? I'm like so fucking happy for you. And I knew it. I instantaneously, I'm like, she's going to get this job. she needs to have this job. This is some part of her purpose. And that's so cool to me. It's just, so it was fun to watch. I want to say that it was just really fun to watch this unfold and like, it's coming for her. I'm so excited. So I love it.
It's so funny too, because I think on a really deep level, I think I felt the same way. Like if I go for this, I'm going to get it. And I think part of that is because my personality type is, I don't necessarily want, and this is not a good type of personality to have. I don't like that I'm like this. But I don't like to fail. And so if I don't feel like there's even a chance, I don't go for it, which is not good. I don't like being that way.
Right.
But I felt like in my like visceral, I felt like since I'm going through this process and I'm filling out the application, I have a friend of mine who actually, I know she's a listener, so she's going to know who she is. She helped me out a little bit with my resume because it's what she does for a living. And cover letter. Actually, I don't think cover letter. I think I already sent the cover letter. And then she texted me and she's like, do you want to send me the cover letter? And I'm like, well, I could, but it's not going to do any good now because it's already been sent. But you know, I had a team too. You know, I had the forces. I recruited the tools, and I don't mean to call my friends tools. That's not it. I don't mean it that way. I recruited my friends.
Right.
And I stocked myself with the tools that I did need in order to make sure that this was as successful as it could possibly be.
Absolutely.
Meaning, I didn't get it. At least I knew I did my best. They just went in action. Right. And so I kind of felt the same way on that level as well. The other thing too that I think is interesting to note, and I'm so glad we're still doing the podcast, because that was another thing that I was, you know, some of the little things giving up. I knew that was going to be one of the things that I thought, oh my gosh, we might not be able to, but we're going to make it work.
Yeah.
And I am the oldest one in my department. Like literally these people could be my children. And I don't feel like I'm that old.
Yeah.
But I am pretty sure that even like the head of the department, she may be like, we might be the same age, but I'm pretty sure that as far as my direct coworkers, pretty sure, no, I know I'm the oldest one. And I didn't even think about that probably, I don't know, until maybe a month in. And I'm like, oh, I'm so much older, because nobody pointed that out.
Right.
What I do find fun though, and this is kind of part of like the midlife component of this. Yeah. If you mention the word microfiche to a 20-something, you will watch their head explode. I mean, it's been so fun to have these conversations with like just random things that come up, and they're like, oh, so like we do scanning, right? We do scanning where I work. And it's not simple, but it's way simpler than it was when we were kids, right? And that's when I brought up the microfiche. And the one kid was like, what is that? And then there was another girl in there with me who was around the same age. And so we had to explain microfiche, and they're like, how did you get anything done? I mean, seriously.
Guess what? Everything didn't used to be on Google either. We used to actually have to go to look through the little card catalog and go find a thing. So just saying, we all survived pre-Google.
Yes. And I had to point out to them too that our workload was a lot less because we needed more time, because we didn't have Professor Google. You know, as opposed to now, the resources are limitless. I mean, do you remember Encyclopedia Britannica, for God's
Jesus
sake?
Louise? Yep, I do.
If you find an encyclopedia and you open it up and you look at it, I dare you to compare it to what Google says about it now.
Oh my God, so good.
It's so good, you know, and atlases and globes.
And maps, when you actually read a map.
So it's just been so fun to like look at life through this young lens and think, you don't know what life was like before telephones. You don't know what life was like before, you know, cable or satellite. You don't know what life was like before 9/11. You don't know what life was like in the 90s. You weren't even around.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. And I think too, and I think that you, and I don't know if you agree, but I imagine you do, because you and I are wired, I think, very similarly this way. I think I love being around youth though. It's one of the reasons I think I love working with teens for so many years is I really value youthful ideas and energy. There is something so fun about it to me. And so I can be like, even my friend's ranch where there's this 19-year-old kid and I just freaking adore him. He's like the little brother I never had. And he and I, what we do every time we see each other, slip each other off. It's like our thing. Like we literally send each other memes. That's all we're doing. He's 19. He's the same age as my daughter.
I love that.
Just freaking, he and I tease each other every time I see him. I absolutely adore him. To me, there is just something about, and it doesn't have to be someone who's 19. It doesn't matter what the age range is, but I think finding someone who is in a younger age range just keeps us on our toes. I have always felt that way. I'm like, I am literally always on my toes when I'm around youth. It just keeps me fresh and focused forward. I don't know what it is. And so I'm guessing that might be true for you too, that you just really like that vibration. I know I do. I love it.
100%.
Yeah.
I had, and I don't think I'm not naming names or anything. So just, I got to make sure that I can't like say anything specific about anybody, but
yeah.
But it was cute because so the department that I work in, like I said, it's literally it's Student Central. That's what it's called, is Student Central. So it's like, think Grand Central Station, but it's just filled with students and not trains, you know? And so you're dealing with a ton of different walks of life and different age groups and things like that. And I love that aspect, like you said, because it is, being an influence, I guess, or just being like, even being like a safe harbor. That's the other thing too, is you don't know what the home life is for students and what's going on with them. And so being somebody that is like a friendly face and being someone who, you can trust me. Come on in. Let's help. I want to help you, you know. I walked past a girl who was on her phone, which it's like Kermit the Frog. It's like Velcroed onto their hands, right? The phone constantly. It's like my Kermit the Frog when he has the microphone in his, okay. So she walked past me at one point, and then when I walked back into the room where we all are, she was still there, and she was just like this ball of energy, like this, like she was vibrating, and I'm like, whoa, okay. What's cool is that I could pick up on that. And so I'm like, have you been helped yet? And she says, no. And I'm like, what can I do for you? Because I just started actually helping out students last week or the last week before the holidays. And so I had a minimal experience, but I'm so glad that I had this encounter, because she just started talking, and she was talking like this. And then finally she said, I'm so nervous. And I'm like, I just started working here. I know nothing. Okay. I didn't say I know nothing, because I wanted to make sure she knew she could trust me. But I said, I just started working here. I'm really nervous too, but we can work through this together. There's no need to be nervous. So let's just not be nervous. And then her whole demeanor just melted.
Right.
And she knew she was going to get help. She was going to get taken care of. She was going to get told the right things. She was going to get pointed in the right direction. She was going to get all the things. And the kicker is, she's not even graduated from high school yet. She doesn't start until the fall. She was a senior in high school.
Cool. Yep.
So this sweet, young, high school aged drove to the campus because she needed to get, that's huge. Do you remember when you were a senior in high school?
I sure as hell do. And I know how scary that stuff is. I've watched Chloe do some of it. So it's really daunting, and it can be intimidating. And so to me, having this really wonderful interaction teaches her that she can trust staff in a situation like that to support and hold space for her. And so again, we can go, oh, I'm just doing my job. But do you have to take the time to really care? Do you have to take the time to sit with her and mirror her and be with her psychologically? Like, you leaned right into her space and you were like, look, you know what? I'm new. I'm scared. Let's just be scared together. Let's just agree that it's okay. Let's let that be like, we got this kind of. That to me, again, and we can take for granted we're not making a big difference. You don't know.
Right.
You don't know. None of us knows the kind of difference we're creating by every interaction that we have.
Exactly.
And I think if we imagine the potency of what we can do, it might inspire us to just be like you did it naturally anyway, because it's who you are, but leaning in, even feeling a little vulnerable, like you didn't have to tell her you were new. You could have been like, I want to look like I'm seasoned. I want to look like I know what the hell I'm doing. Cause no, you were like, yeah, I'm new too. And I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Right. Let's figure it out together. To me, we are really opening doors for people and having experiences that are therapeutic when we don't even know we're doing it. So
Yeah.
again, and I think it's just easy for us. This is why I have you look backward. I
Yeah.
think we can dismiss the places and spaces that we leaned in that some needed, and we might not ever know the full weight of what we brought to that table. But I think if we can give ourselves that, like, wow, I really hope I'm laying the groundwork for someone else to have a different kind of experience. They trust themselves, they trust other people, that they know that they were held, seen, loved, and cared about, whatever it is. That is so freaking cool to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, I could take that environment that you had and break that down into about 6 ways that you probably changed her life.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. In one interaction, right? That's the
Mm-hmm.
power we have to be with each other. That's why we're created to be social creatures. So I just love that. I just want to like pat you on the back because I'm like, that's such a beautiful interaction. And to me, that's why you are where you are. Those
Mm-hmm.
kinds of interactions with people is why I think we do what we do. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's beautiful.
Yep.
I want to say one other thing to you, and I don't want to derail you from your year. I want to say, I love that you had magic on your radar. I love that you trusted where you were going. I love that you're like leaning into that. The other thing I want to say that I thought was really cool from not an outsider, from a different perspective, because it's not just you walking in your shoes. I saw you do so many medical things this year.
No.
Your level, so everyone hang tight for a second. So Sue's good. She's fine. Okay. But I just want to say, I want to bring awareness to it because I think this is powerful, because she walked through shit sheer that I'm like, I was exhausted for her. I wasn't doing all the tests and all that. But what I want to give you a shout out about, and I know you're laughing, and I know that like we both love like humor, but the truth of this is like not funny at all. You kicked fucking ass at taking care of yourself this year. Like, I just want to say, how many people do we all know that when something feels like it might not be right, myself included, I'd have to raise my hand in this, is it easier to stick our heads in the sand?
Mm-hmm.
This year, I saw you commit to yourself, and the amount of appointments that you went through was staggering. On top of normal stuff, on top of just taking care of normal, OBGYN and dentists and all. And the reason I want to say it is because I'm so grateful you went through all those measures. I'm so grateful you took the time to take care of yourself. And I know it's a drag, and I know it can be anxiety provoking. And so to me, watching you fully step into an area where it would have been so much easier to stick your head in the sand and be like, this is not happening. Like, it's fine. I am so proud, and I'm so grateful that you were willing to do that. And so I want to reflect it to you that whether you saw that as a really amazing endeavor, I do, because I know the time and energy that took you. So I just want to throw it into the arena for your year that I was like, woman needs an award. That's all I'm saying. And she's fine and she's healthy. But I just want to say that was not an easy thing. And I watched the whole thing unfold. So I'm just very grateful for all of that, and just proud that you stepped fully into that shit when it was not a fun task. It was not a fun task. So I'm proud and impressed.
You can send a personal assistant to go get a PET scan for you.
You sure cannot.
No. I tried. It doesn't work.
I tried. It did not work. You did good. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
And I just want to reflect, because it might not have been something you counted amongst your...
Didn't even think about it.
But your commitment, that you made that commitment to yourself and to the journey, that's freaking awesome. Mm-hmm. That kind of commitment to me is really fucking hard. And so watching someone that I love and care about, particularly because I'm invested in your wellness. I mean, I want you to be around as long as you can. So I'm very grateful for that whole experience that you went through. And I know it was a pain in the ass, but I was proud.
And it was.
Proud. I know it was.
But talk about, I mean, I'm going into 2024. Like, there's like, okay, I guess I'm good. So
is there anything else you could do? I don't even think so.
I don't think so. I think
check.
we went right through the gamut, right up to the Mac
Hell
Daddy,
yeah, you did.
And it's good.
And all is good.
All is good.
No, so I mean, I just want to throw that on there too, just because it might not be something because again, right, and as an outsider, I can look with a different lens than you can. And I thought that was really freaking amazing. So
thank you.
If you're out there listening, please do your annual stuff. I'm behind on mine. I'm not bragging. I'm going to be real and accountable to that. But I just want to say, if you're listening, please do know the importance of taking care of yourself this way, and to use Sue as a, you know, role model for, man, I don't really want to do this, but I'm going to do it because I think it's important. And so just a reminder to everybody, you know, take good care of that vessel that's carrying all your great energy around.
Yes,
We only
exactly.
get
'Cause
one.
otherwise
So
yep.
it's
Otherwise those dreams just can't come true if you're
well, that's they're harder, right? So that's the reason in
Yeah.
midlife, talking about it more seriously, is that, you know, now some of us are starting to know people that have serious health issues. People are starting to take medications, they're starting to develop serious issues, or maybe we've even known some people who've passed away, which is kind of startling, because in midlife, I mean, I still feel like I'm like eternally 20 on the inside. So it's like, wait, are we actually this age? Oh no, we're actually the age where it does matter how we're taking care of ourselves. And so just again, I don't want to, like, you know, rail on everybody about it, but I do think it's a really worthy thing to think about. It's just like, am I doing what I can to take really good care of the vessel that I'm walking around?
I think that's a really excellent point. And I think that does kind of wrap into what we were talking about too, with what would you tell your 2022 self? Because I really didn't even think about that component, but I do want to say that if there are some people, who I think there are, who are listening, who are not quite midlife, maybe, I will say, if I could say anything to my teenage self, it would definitely be the tolerance for all of the crap that you're doing to your body right now is going to
go away.
It will. What you're doing now at 15, 16, 17.
Absolutely.
And I'm not trying to sound like grandma. Please believe me. I, you know, I've run the gamut of doing all the things, but I will say that if you're, you know, what you're doing now is going to affect you in 30 years.
It is.
20 years.
It is just good insight. It is, but it's funny how we take it for you. There's a lot of time in your life, and this does make me sound 90, and I'm okay with it. There's a lot of time in our lives where we really take for granted what we've got. How we look, the size and shape we are, where we are, who we're with. It's really easy to take for granted these pieces. And then as you age, you go, holy shit, how lucky was I?
Right.
I was there, and there, able to do X, Y, and Z. I was a cheerleader. I was standing on top of people's shoulders and sitting on people's hands in the air and jumping around, and my poor kneecaps would no longer associate with that whatsoever, right? But like the things that you can do physically or emotionally or mentally or who you're with, again, it's about that appreciation. And it's if we could say to our younger selves, start taking as good a care as you can of yourself. Both mentally,
have fun,
emotionally, absolutely. I mean, and I will
say, I mean, you know, we've heard, right, the people who they run the marathons, they don't eat sugar, they don't do the things, they don't do this, and they do all that, and they drop dead of a heart attack. We know
that's just it. Exactly.
That the anomalies are there. But the point is, you know, our bodies are, and this could be another topic. I'm writing this down.
Please do.
Our bodies are incredibly hardworking, and we don't realize how hardworking they are until they get to the point where they can't work so hard anymore.
That's just it. And then you're trying to fix shit.
Exactly. You're exerting, you're forcing your body to exert a lot of energy to keep you on track when you're not taking care of it in your youth. To the point where now you get to a certain age and it's like, okay, I'm done. I rescued you in your 20s. I can't do it without your help anymore. Exactly. And that's when you have to start giving yourself the good things. You have to get the sleep. You have to get the vitamins. You have to back off some of the alcohol. You have to back off some of the caffeine. I mean, moderation becomes your mantra.
It does. It does. I love that.
And you appreciate your body more because listen, I'm getting better now, but I watched A Christmas Story over the weekend. And is it Alan, the little kid who was in the jacket?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Got him all wrapped up and he can't put my arms down, right? And then he falls. When he's trying to get up, I was watching it. It was like watching a home video of me trying to get my ass out of bed now. I can't get out of bed like a normal human being. And but the other thing too is your body works hard for you, but it's also very forgiving, and it can be, there are some things you can fix. I mean, I've heard people talk I've heard podcasts of different people who are, you know, women of a certain age, 70s, 80s, the pains that they used to have are gone
Exactly.
because they're doing what they need to do to make them go away, and it's really minimal.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I'm just, like I said, in case there's any children listening,
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that out there, because that is another thing that I have reached to this year, where I'm like, okay,
Absolutely.
we got to do something.
Absolutely.
Y'all, I landed at the chiropractor because I threw my back out tying my shoe 3 weeks
Oh,
ago.
this is welcome to midlife. Let's talk about that. The rando shit that happens
Okay.
now. You're like, I have to do pretty much nothing and I can injure myself. So
seriously. And I think I'm writing this down.
Please do.
Because we're gonna do a separate episode, just this.
Okay.
We're gonna make it funny, because I'm sorry, it is funny. Looking back on it now, I can say that my back is healed, everything is better.
Right. Yep.
But when I was trying to stand up, I was in the garage.
Yeah.
And I was tying my left shoe. I'd already done the right one. Now I'm tying the left shoe, right?
Yep.
You never forget when your back goes out. You never forget that moment. I can't tell you the pain that seared up the right side of my body. And now I'm sitting on the steps and I'm like, this can't be happening. I live with Jeffrey, who we live in his grandparents' old house. His grandparents were in their 90s when they passed away. Okay. I now know why there's a pole on the staircase leading into the house from the garage, because my guess is Grandma Helen probably needed it to crawl off the floor. Because that's what I use that pole for, to get me. It took me like 5 minutes to stand up straight.
Oh yeah. Nope. There was a day not long ago and I thought about you. I was doing something. I was getting out of bed. And I don't know what, I did something and I went to stand up and I went, oh, and I lurched over and Zach was like, oh my God, are you okay? I go, I don't know. Something bad's my back. And I tried to say, oh, and he got up, he ran around the bed. It was so funny. I had water and my phone in my hands and I was going to do something and he took and he tossed him on the table like I was literally having a heart attack. Like he was ready to warm up the paddles, right? No. And so he's standing there, he's like, okay, what do we need to do? And I'm like, I don't know. It freaking hurts. I'm going to lay down. So he's like, okay, lay down. So he's helping me stretch my legs a little bit. Oh, no, that hurts. Finally I could stand up after, totally fine. No effing idea. But literally I was bent over, stuck. Totally don't know what the hell I did. Don't know what got crunched. Nerve got pushed. I don't even know. But it reminds me, this is exactly what we're talking about at this stage of our lives.
Yeah.
It sounds funny, but it's like, it literally is. You're like, how the hell did I even hurt myself? How the hell did that even happen? What even happened there?
I do. I have that written down. I'm going to pull the curtain back here on the wizard. Perfect. And I'm going to tell you, this is, I have this written down because I wrote this down after my back threw up, because we write, topics down and keep notes. I literally wrote down, how did I get here?
We'll circle back to this one. Because it's so good. Okay. So are there any other year review things I want to ask you?
And something that I completely hijacked that conversation, Jen.
I love it. I love it. And it was so nice to hear you speak to that. But is there anything else? I want to make sure you didn't.
For me, no.
No. Okay. Shoot. I just want to make sure
I want to hear yours. As far as what you would tell your 2022. Now, were you in 2022 on New Year's Eve? Were you stuffy, sniffly, cough? Miserable?
I don't believe so. I do think I was worried for your wellness. I'm going to say. So I think I remember being worried for your wellness because you were so bad.
That was bad.
No, I think so. I will talk a little bit about some of the, I think, lessons I have learned, and I'll probably miss some stuff to really identify the celebration as well. I'm going to do my best. I will say, when I started, I love picking a word for the year. If you're new to me, you will know that I absolutely loathe the word resolution in the new year. I think it's just it suggests to me that we're broken. If we need to resolve something, it sounds broken. I don't like that vibe at all. I'm a language, I have OCD about the language we use. So I like the word reset, revitalize, reconfigure. I like different words for the new year. So I like picking a word that I'm going to focus on for my year. So last year I was in this place where the business was building. There was really good momentum. And I was feeling good. And I remember going into the new year and I'm like, you know what my word's going to be for 2023? It's going to be power. And what I meant by that was I wanted to stand in my own power. I think that it was really like, I felt done asking for permission, done apologizing for everything I do, done making myself smaller. I mean, I'd done all these kind of levels of work over time. And I was like, okay, stand in your power. So what's cool about claiming a word, right, is that it just gives you a focal point. It isn't that you're not going to struggle around it. It isn't that but it's a great way to circle back and go, when I'm doing X, is that in fact me standing in my power? And I even had friends and colleagues, network people that were like, okay, is that you standing in your power? So I really appreciate identifying something that I think is sort of your focus for the year. What I think is really cool though, is my word changed and it ended up power, but in a different frame of reference. And with time, what I really understood doing a lot of my own healing energy work all year was really, if I had said what my word was, it ended up being discernment. And discernment is understanding what is for you and what is not for you. And I think that they're directly correlated. When I understand fully what's alignment for me and honor that, that's what discernment is about. That is standing in your power. So I think I had to unravel some of my old patterns and stories to understand the places that I get diminished, that I allow myself to be diminished. That's my accountability, not someone else's. And so I worked a lot this year on that. I mean, there was just like an incredible amount of, is this collaboration for me? Is this not for me? Watching how people really showed up. So sometimes in environments where I might be working with someone and they would say they were going to deliver something and they didn't. They wouldn't follow up in a timely fashion. There was all of these things that I was witnessing and I was experiencing. And despite the fact that I was sometimes frustrated with that,
you were tested. This year was a huge test for you.
It was, in a lot of ways. It was like, okay, you're gonna have to sit in this. Is this for you? And then watching it, honestly, what I was looking for as well as authenticity. So is someone really what they say they are? Or with time, is it gonna all through the filter like a sieve? Am I going to see what's on the other side of that? Is it still going to be the same person, or is it different? And there was a handful of moments where I worked believing we were starting in one place and then ending in a very different place. But grateful that it worked out the way that it did, because what it did was, in many circumstances, I worked my way out of environments that weren't necessarily actually going to serve me. And that doesn't mean that people were bad, right? This is not me throwing stones. It's not, it's that we can start somewhere and think something sounds great. And then with time and as it unravels, we kind of go, oh, shoot, these things don't work so great.
Right.
And really honoring who we are. One of the things I think I've learned abundantly about myself this year, which will be interesting to see what I do in 2024 with this. I'm gonna have to think about what I would say to 2024 me. But I think that I have realized when I work in environments with other people, I really want it to be collaborative. I do best in environments where people are clear and they say what they need and they show up consistently and things like that. That to me is very, very important. And I don't know that I would have necessarily said that the same way about myself until the end of this year. So it was a really good unraveling of awareness, I think, in a way that was like really important. And I think what it does is it sets me up to be mindful for the next set of discernment that I'll have to have, if that makes sense, for the next set of, experiences, collaborations, whatever that might be. That's one. The other thing that I think I definitely did was discerned that I needed time away, which was a really tough decision to make in a business, because as a business owner, and I'm sure there are business owners out there listening, there's nothing scarier than taking a step back, because you're like, I've worked really hard. I mean, when I say the level of vlog creation, website design, website maintenance, video creation, going live, doing monthly themes, creating time for contacts, networking, and then clients, and then client coaching sessions. There was a lot going on. And I think I finally got to a point where I'm like, this is batshit crazy. I am going to lose my gourd. I'm losing my inspiration. I know I love who I'm working with. The work itself, the coaching, never a problem. It's all of the maintenance behind the scenes. And I do a lot of that stuff myself, like 90%. I have a VA that helps me and they do small things, aside projects and stuff to help me, which is invaluable, by the way. This is not me dissing them, but I'm just saying I don't have a big team of people that does this. I do it. And I was trained to do it a certain way. And so I'm very type A when I'm trained and told to do. So I was very methodical about being consistent. And I was like, but I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm losing my authenticity. I'm showing up and I'm just here because I'm supposed to be here. I'm not necessarily feeling it. I don't have a great message today. I'm doing it because I was told I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
And that to me was like, I stopped feeling that congruency at all. That felt really out of alignment. And I'm like, this is not working. So for me, I think I had to step back in. Now I'm excited again. So it took me 6 months. I mean, I want to say 6 months where I was just kind of in the ether and trying to figure out what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go and how I wanted to do it. And that's unsettling as a business owner. I mean, all of us like to have this really firm compass and like, going forward, heading north and I've got all this stuff. And it was really challenging to reconfigure. I'm not going to lie. And also what was interesting was business came in even when I wasn't powering through.
Nice.
So I think it's very interesting also to have a really therapeutic experience that, business was still coming in. People were still following, listening, and leaning in, even when you weren't out there 24/7, putting yourself in that social media limelight kind of thing. So I was grateful for that because I think I was like, oh, okay, phew, I don't always have to break my neck to make something work. So I think that this has been the great period of silence for me and reflection.
Nice.
So somebody said not long ago, I posted something on Instagram and one of my friends that I knew, it's another coach. And she was like, oh my God, it's so good to see you on here. I haven't seen you in forever. How you been? And I said, you know what? Thanks for checking in. That is really sweet. And like, I have been busy being silent.
Yeah.
And she went, good for you. And so cool to have another coach say, I hear you. I see you. Good for you for taking the time that you need. So there was a lot of that. I had a lot of travel. I was back and forth to Utah probably 6 times this year. That is the most travel I've ever done in my entire life. I will say, despite the fact that sometimes it was exhausting, just from a physical, not from a mean-spirited perspective, just like a physical, it was a lot. It was incredible to go be other places. I'm going to say that the value I place in travel and I know being there, and you've said it changed me. I think being in a quieter ranch setting changed me. I think that's the coolest thing, is that energetically witnessing the difference between being here in Minnesota, which I deeply love, by the way, and then going there, but where everything is associated with nature there. Everything is what needs to be done to take care of the animals, each other, the land. There is something about being privy to that I think was a really powerful takeaway for me personally, just witnessing that and like the peace. There's something so grounding about that. And I was like, I didn't even know I needed that. And I think this last year become abundantly clear to me, you're needing more of this kind of energy, this kind of grounding, this kind of whatever this is in your life, whether it's just Utah proper. I think the land really speaks to me. It always has. It's my favorite place to hike. And of course, some of my very favorite people are there. So, I mean, that's beautiful to have this sense of family there as well. But it's partly the land too. And so I think really discovering the value of stepping outside of your normalcy, the value of, even if it makes people really uncomfortable. I know travel isn't necessarily everybody's like favorite or is their wheelhouse. Sometimes we can't afford it. I also want to respect that. But I am going to say that when and if you can, breaking outside of that comfort zone and going somewhere else and having a different experience is just really powerful stuff. And so I do think that a piece of my growth this last year was associated with travel, honestly, and having this incredibly beautiful different experience was really super cool. So to me, that was a really cool takeaway from 2023, was a load of travel. Super, super cool, and definitely inspired me to potentially make a move. That's something that's definitely been on our docket, which is crazy. And we're not ready yet because we've got a kid here and finishing up school, etc. So it'll probably be a little bit yet, but I do think that's the plan. And had I not done all that travel to realize that was where my soul felt at home, I would know that. So I think that there is something of value of like being willing and able to get out there and see the world and see different places and have different experiences and meet from people, and to really uncover parts of ourselves we don't find in any other way. I just want to say that's for sure true. Had I not been doing all this, I would have not uncovered parts of myself I think I saw this year for being outside of my own comfort zone in my own home, in my own state. So really, really cool experience that way. And I think just telling myself, I think I would tell myself, honestly, more and more, get out of your own way. when I said trust the process to you earlier, get out of your own way, let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. Let it go. Let go. Let go. Keep letting go. Keep going with the
Release.
flow. Keep
Release.
trusting that the
Yeah.
things that are serving you are showing up all the time. The things that are serving you. And when it's a no, the no is serving you. And so I've done a lot of work this year to be at peace with the no's, the things that didn't show up the way that I wanted. Was a no is actually serving you. It might be that your spirit guides, your counsel, God, Jesus, whatever, again, whatever your goddess, whatever your jam is actually showing up, and the no serves you more than you would have any awareness of. You, in your consciousness and your limitations in this earth body, you would not know, but we know this is not going to be serving you or your purpose to the highest good. It's going to be a no. I think that's really been a big piece for me as well, is reading okay, so I'm in it, this no, even if it's disappointing, is for me. And so that's a very different mindset. Because if for a lot of my life, I would dig my heels in and get pissed and try to find ways to control and make it happen.
Right.
And you talked about control and all that, right? So I think in midlife, one of my biggest lessons is how to let go more often, how to just, and I don't mean you don't make effort, or I'm still making effort in things, but I think it's just going, okay, can I let go of the outcome? Can I say, I'm going to give this my best. I'm going to work to be in the flow. I'm going to work to let go of this outcome and trust that whatever outcome is supposed to be here will show up. And whatever it is actually for my highest good. And so rather than getting kind of bogged down in like the shittiness if something was a no, or it didn't turn out quite right, it was like, no, it's okay, because I needed that teacher. I needed this moment or this experience. And so a lot of what was uncovered for me, even in terms of things like collaborations, et cetera, it was like, oh, that was for my highest good. I might have been disappointed in one breath, but on the other breath, it was like, oh, this was definitely meant to unfold exactly as it did.
Yep.
And so that to me has been a big piece of the work that I think has been going on. So I think those are probably, I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but I think they're probably kind of my big, I would say to my 2023 year self, I would say like, let go. And I wanted to reflect on my yearly word, because I thought that was great that I picked one, but it really ended up being something different, but it was directly connected to power. I have not picked a year word this year just yet. Nothing is exactly landed. I have to do some work on that, and then I'll pick one. But I think the cool thing, and I want to leave this for everybody, is flexibility. I think it's interesting that I picked a word and it morphed. And I think in the past I've been like, but my goal is power. And I think I would have lost sight on being so honed in that it was like, okay, but are you seeing the forest for the trees?
Well, that's release too, right? I mean, that's like flexibility is the same thing.
Exactly. And
yeah, different words, same definition.
Exactly. And I think so, to me, one of the things of midlife that I would hope for all of us is letting go of the rigidity, letting go of the, and this is my personal work too. This is not me like, slaying you all. This is just where I'm coming from, is I've had to let go of the rigidity. Understanding the beauty of the unknown is really hard for me. I'm type A. I like my things in a row. I very am. Like, if you know me personally, I like my home. I just cleaned every look of Christmas is already gone. This place has been scrubbed. Everything's reorganized. It's like, this is how I tend to work. And I'm learning the fine art of flexibility. And I just think it serves us so much better, rather than getting stuck and then having bad feelings about it, et cetera. It's like, just lean into this. Whatever this is meant for you. And can you trust that? And can you not grip? Can you not clutch? Right? We talked about this earlier.
Right.
Can I be better about letting things go and just taking hands off the wheel and going, okay, this is going to turn out however it needs to turn out. So I think that's a big piece of 2023. And really honoring myself, honoring the process, not just pushing through because I'm supposed to. That's a really old idea of mine. And I do not think it works for shit for any of us to just keep plodding on. I think there's times where I think I stopped myself from getting so burnt out this time that I didn't when I was 40. I think at 40, I didn't put the brakes on at all. I just, it was like crashing into a wall. It was like, what's wrong with me? This is broken. I think this stage of my life, I'm like, no, you're not broken. You're needing to realign yourself. You're needing to readjust make that lane change. And so that was really what I uncovered. And So I think honoring it differently this time and allowing myself the quiet and the space and the healing, that was something I would not have done in the past.
Sure.
So I think that's what I would celebrate the most, is allowing that healing, allowing that quiet time, allowing the step back, rather than staying in the limelight and trying to force my way into something that didn't actually feel congruent anymore. And so those are some of my suggestions and my thoughts for the year. But I would love to hear from all of you. Do you have a word for the year? Do you like having something like that? We're going to be talking about some tools and stuff down the road, so we won't spend a lot of time here. Do you like that? Are there things that what lessons, what most potent and exciting lessons would you share with your 2023 self? If you could sit across from her or him or them and say, hey, this is what I learned, where have we been? What would you say? And it would be an honor for Sue and I to be able to hear from all of you and where you've been and what you're learning in midlife, and take that and share that out with everybody else. That's really, really cool stuff. So we'd love to hear from you. So I think that's my 2023. It was a good year. I'm really hella excited for this year. I always feel that way at the first of the year. I will not lie. I do get this ridiculously sort of manic vibe around the change of a year, because it feels like a chapter. It feels like one book is closed and we're another. I'm an avid reader.
And it's a fresh, clean page.
It's a fresh, clean page. And to me, there's nothing more exciting about having a fresh start. I love that idea. And so I super get excited and spend quite a bit of time reflecting on where I've been, where I'm going, etc. And so hopefully you all feel like you've got some neat tools to help do that. We will be talking more about those coming up. But any finishing thoughts, questions, anything for you, Sue? I think that's my takeaway on 2023, but any other thoughts or suggestions, questions you have before?
I love that. No, and see, we did it. We were able to say, hey, I did this, but we didn't follow it up with, but.
We didn't. We did good. So that's I love that Sue brought that forward, is allowing yourself the celebration without the recrimination, right? Without I should have done this, I could have done that. I think that there is something really powerful about the use of language and the way that we perceive our experiences that is really, really powerful. And again, we'll probably talk more about that as a skill and tools we lean into the new year. But I do love that today was really a celebration of where we've been in 2023. And we've done a whole year of podcasting. I mean, this is really cool. This has been an entire year. I mean, something that I didn't even think about till this, and then some. Really cool to think that we have grown our podcast, the listeners, the people who have celebrated and joined with us. There is no greater honor than reaching your ears and getting to spend time with each of you in your journey. This is something that Sue and I take really seriously. It's why we carve out time to come into the airspace and share our thoughts and ideas with all of you, because we really want to support your journey. And so thanks so much for being with us for all of 2023. Those of you that have been listening that long, we are so grateful for you being here. So I just want to say thanks so much for being part of our celebration, our journey of this podcast, and what joy it brings to us. So thanks so much for that. That's it, my friends. I think we will circle back with some new ideas on how to lean into the new year. So this was kind of us reflecting, and the next we'll be moving forward with some tools and skills you might use and the ways that those are powerful as you lean into a new year. So you can expect that coming around. But for today, thanks so much for joining us. I'm so glad you're here. It was such a joy to be back in this space with Sue. I have missed it. I have missed her. This vibe is always one of my favorites. So it's so good to be back. And we really hope to be bringing some materials for all of you that will help elevate your experience moving into 2024. So thanks so much for listening, guys. We will see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.